Hello, I am about to have my phone interview for the Disney College program, and I'm so excited, but I am terrified. Right now, I have pulled up the computer and I'm just rereading some of the job descriptions for the roles that I've put high interest in. I wrote down all of the roles and each of my interest levels that I put in them, just so that I would be extra prepared. And then I have a whole list of questions that I plan on asking my recruiter, and we'll see how this goes. They could call any time from now until like 8:30 p.m. So, good evening, this is Lauren Ludovico speaking.
Hi Lauren, this is Bradley calling from Disney. How are you?
I'm great, Bradley. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm calling for your telephone interview for the Disney College program. Is this still a good time for you, Lauren?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We're going to be together on the phone for about 15 or 20 minutes. I'm going to be asking questions just where I can learn about you and some of your past work history, and we're going to talk through some of the roles that you expressed interest in. Okay, Lauren?
Sounds perfect.
And what made you interested in the Disney College program?
So, I'll be honest, at first I didn't want to go with the college program because I just graduated college. However, when I learned...
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. But when I learned what the program was, and I learned that you would be able to use this internship for further skills in the real world, I was like, okay, maybe it's something that I should look into. I originally wanted to just start applying for full-time jobs right out of college, but then I also wanted to be able to pursue the college program when I was still eligible, and I figured it'd be a lot of fun to be able to do an internship with a bunch of other students who were similar to my age or in the same kind of place in their life that I was. So I was like, okay, let's give it a shot, and the more I learned about it, the more excited I was. So I decided to send in an application, and here we are.
Here we are. And when you were a student, were you an international student who was studying in the U.S. on a visa?
No, I'm a U.S. citizen.
And as you may be aware, all of our roles in the parks and resorts do require you to wear a costume and comply with the Disney look and appearance guidelines. Are you familiar with those guidelines?
Yes, I am familiar with them.
And are you receptive to those guidelines, Lauren?
Absolutely.
And for costuming purposes, we do have some questions regarding body modifications.
Mm-hmm.
Please know that any failure to disclose a body modification, including tattoos, could result in the cancellation of your program should an offer be extended. This includes any modifications you currently have or any that you may get prior to arrival. Do you have any tattoos that would be visible outside of a tank top and mid-thigh length shorts, Lauren?
Yes, I do. I have one on my arm. It actually says "Just Keep Swimming," and then I have another one on my wrist, which could be easily covered with a sleeve or a watch or a bracelet. And then I have a last one on my finger, but I'm in the process of actually lasering it off, so it'll be gone by the time the program starts.
Okay, so let's start. The one on your arm, where on your arm is it located?
It's on my forearm, kind of along the bone side leading up to my elbow, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, so the back forearm. You can tell I wasn't a medical student. In inches, what size is that?
It reads about, I would say that's maybe 6 or 7 inches long, and it's pretty thin, so it can be easily covered with a couple dabs of makeup or just a sleeve.
Okay, and the one on your wrist, what size is that one?
About a square inch.
A square inch and pretty small, so that one definitely could be covered with makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And the one on your finger, you've already started the process for that?
Yes, it's been lasered twice already, and I just have a couple more sessions before it's totally gone.
Got it. Okay. And do you have any other tattoos that would be visible outside of that tank top and mid-thigh length shorts?
I have one on my foot, but I assume I'll be wearing shoes, so,
Yes.
yeah.
That one, we do not have together.
Okay, fantastic.
Do you have any ear gauges or dermal piercings?
I do not, no.
Do you have any piercings at all?
I have regular lobe ear piercings, and then I have a couple of unconventional piercings in my ears that can be easily removed.
those more unconventional ear piercings, those would need to be completely removed, and Disney doesn't permit any kind of spacers, even if they're clear.
Oh,
So
okay.
so just during your shift, they would just need to be completely removed during any work shifts, okay?
Okay, not a problem.
And do you have a valid U.S. driver's license, Lauren?
I do.
And I see that you're interested in the Disney World College program, and your availability is for the Spring Advantage. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
And in our housing, you can have anywhere from 1 to 7 roommates if you shared a room with 1 or even 2 other people. Disagreements or stressful situations sometimes are unavoidable, whether they happen at school, work, or at home. Can you tell me about a time where you independently handled one of those situations?
Of course. So I studied abroad last summer, and I
Where
shared
were you studying?
Italy, Orvieto, Italy.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I loved it. It was amazing, and I'd love to go back. I shared my apartment with 7 people, actually, and it's kind of crazy how it turned out, but we were the only apartment that was that big on our program. Most other apartments only fit 6 people or even 4 people, but we got all 8 of us, and our housekeeping methods were a little bit different than we would have expected to be cohesive with each other. For example, when we would cook in the kitchen and then eat our food, some people would wash their dishes right away, other people would wait to let the dishes soak before they washed it, and it just led to some disagreements about, this person's not doing their chores, this person's being too much of a stickler about when we should do our chores. Unfortunately, the program was only 5 weeks long. I wish it was way longer. I don't think that we ever officially resolved it by the end of the program, but in hindsight, what I think we should have done was come up with a schedule and a system for who's going to do which chores at what time. That way we can all hold ourselves accountable, and that way we can all understand what is expected of us at each time.
And can you tell me about the busiest day that you've ever had at work?
The busiest day that I've ever had at work, yes. So at one of my jobs in college, I worked as a front desk receptionist for the campus tutoring center. And I remember when I had just started working, we normally have about 2 to 3 desk assistants at the desk at all times. However, that day we were only staffed with 2 desk assistants, and one of us had left because they were sick. So I was the only one manning the desk at the time, and that happened to be during the rush hour traffic for the tutoring center. So I was trying to sign in all these people for their tutoring appointments, and I was trying to answer phone calls and answer all these sorts of questions. So I just remember it being super, super hectic. The only thing I remember being able to solve it was just take a deep breath and handle one task at a time, and just tell everyone that I appreciated their patience while I navigated through each of their requests one at a time.
Awesome. And I saw that you expressed interest in the lifeguard role, and I also saw that you had experience as a swim coach. Were you a certified lifeguard as well?
I was not a certified lifeguard, but I do, if I recall, I mentioned in my application that I am CPR and water safety training certified, so I do have some aspect of the safety training, but I'm not a certified lifeguard, no.
Awesome. So we actually certify all of our own lifeguards.
Okay.
But part of that test would be swimming 200 yards either freestyle or breaststroke, retrieving a 10-pound brick from the deepest section of the pool, and treading water with your hands out of the water for 2 minutes. Is that something that you feel that you could successfully pass?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And did you ever have to respond to any type of emergency situation?
Fortunately, no.
And how do you feel that you would respond in those kind of scenarios?
I would like to think that I will think quickly and act very responsively to whatever needs are being met. If someone's choking, then I would try to do some sort of compression on them so they can dislodge whatever they're choking on. If they ended up drowning, I would try to pull them out of the water as soon as possible and begin doing CPR. If someone was bleeding, I would probably call 911 right away because I'm not trained to handle blood. So I would just utilize whatever resources and whatever skills that I know in order to alleviate the situation and just provide whatever immediate attention that I can in order to kind of make things manageable until the people who are certified to help arrive.
And have you ever been in any type of leadership role where you had to enforce rules to other people?
Yes. This last year, my senior year of college, I was promoted to a supervisory role at one of my campus jobs, and this was at our campus telephone center, or our fundraising center, where students would do outreach phone calls to alumni or students' parents or partners of the school to ask them to provide financial gifts toward the programs that we have on campus. That's how you start off, as a caller. If you get promoted to supervisor, then what you do is, instead of doing the actual calls, you'd be listening in on the other calls and make sure that other people are adhering to the script standards and maintaining integrity, especially when they do receive a donation. We take down their card information, so we just have to be very careful that we are maintaining their confidentiality and their security. The computers are payment card industry compliant, so we have to be very assuring to our prospects that their personal information is kept in good hands. And of course, we just have to make sure that we are being professional and polite at all times. So I would have to listen in on phone calls and perform some disciplinary action if some of our callers were either being a little sketchy with the card, or if they said some wrong information that completely affected the phone call, or if they just sounded kind of rude to the prospect. I would need to pull that caller aside and say, hey, I noticed you did this. I just wanted to check in to see if you were familiar with how we conduct this kind of protocol or this kind of process in our phone calls. Here's kind of a contract that we want you to sign just to make sure that you understand how we want you to do better in the future and what may happen if you do not comply with this standard of behaving in the workplace.
And in partnership with our lifeguards, our recreation attractions role operates the water slides at our water parks, assists guests in our spas and fitness centers, and even rent boats out at the marina. With that being said, knowing that it's a requirement, what would you do if a guest refused to wear a life vest while renting a boat?
I would just tell them, I'm really sorry, unfortunately it is a requirement that is purely for your safety and for the safety of all of our other guests. We want you to make sure that you have a fun and enjoyable experience, but we would also want that experience to be as safe as possible to minimize any risk that may come from not having taken that precaution.
And what made you interested in the front desk role?
Well, I have a lot of front desk experience. The front desk role that I had at our campus tutoring center in college, I had that job for 3 years. So I've developed a lot of customer service skill. I've developed a lot of administrative skill in terms of handling schedules and relaying back and forth between the tutors and the patrons and the administrative staff. So I feel like I would be a really great asset to a front desk situation. I also, in the job that I currently have, I'm actually a recruiter myself, and one of our responsibilities is distributing new hire paperwork to the candidates that we reach out to. And I've developed a skill for human resources at this point. So I feel like any sort of paperwork, any sort of organization that comes with the behind the scenes aspect of a front desk, I would be really great at.
Awesome. And if you were staying at one of our resorts, what would some of your expectations be?
I would expect the most magical experience of my life, provided by wonderful cast members who are very receptive to my needs, very polite when I ask them questions, and very informative when I am curious about something.
And what would be some of the magical moments that you would want to share with our guests as a front desk host or hostess?
I would want to share with them the various opportunities to meet some of your favorite characters, or the various attractions where they can soar around the world or have a really great adrenaline rush for a couple minutes. Anything that brings the adventure and the spark to their life, I would tell them, we have this really great attraction in this park. I would recommend, based on your needs and what you're looking for this vacation, that you check it out. That way you can have an amazing day and an amazing time with Disney.
And if you were working front desk, helping a family purchase their park tickets, and while you were working with them, you noticed a guest in the lobby who was raising their voice, and a new cast member next to you who was struggling to link magic bands for their guest, what would you do?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Oh, sure. So you're working at the front desk, helping a family purchase their park tickets. While you are working with them, you noticed a guest in the lobby area who was raising their voice, and next to you, there's a new cast member struggling to link magic bands for their guest. What would you do?
I would say to the new cast member, if they are comfortable handling the task that I'm currently doing, I would have them take over my task, and then I would be able to deal with the customer who's raising their voice, and I would say to the guest raising their voice, thank you so much for visiting Disney today. How can I help you? And then I would listen to their request and see if there's anything that I can do about it. If there is, then I will take care of it right away, and if it's not, then I will ring up my supervisor or whatever resource I feel like would best help in that situation so that they can help the guest. And then while the other cast member is finished with the task that I was in the middle of doing, then I will return to it so I can return to the family that I was helping. And then after all of our guest situations have been calmed down, then I would explain to my coworker how I handled the upset guest and how they can be prepared for a situation like that in the future.
And I also saw that you were interested in a character performer role.
Yes.
With that character performer role, you are required to attend an audition. Were you planning on attending the one on September 29th in Anaheim?
I am. And I actually already attended a casting call, not one for the CP, but I went to the one on August 26th in Vegas.
Oh, okay. How did that go?
It went great. I made it through round 2. I wasn't asked to stay for round 3, but I'm hoping that means good news.
Awesome. Well, definitely now that you kind of know what to expect with the one that you went through, definitely attend that one as well. Were you able to visit DisneyAuditions.com before your last audition?
I was, yes.
Okay, perfect. So you are already in the know about all of that. So that audition will serve as your interview for that particular role.
Okay.
And based on the description in the role checklist and the roles that we discussed tonight, are you able to perform the essential function of those roles without a reasonable accommodation, Lauren?
I absolutely am.
Well, those are really all the questions I have for you. Let me share what's going to happen from this point.
Okay.
We send all communication to your dashboard on the Disney Career Portal. There will be no changes to that dashboard until a final decision has been made. We do make decisions continuously over the course of our season, meaning you could hear from us anytime from tomorrow to mid-November. Should you be offered a role, you're going to get information about the acceptance process, arrival and departure dates, what role you'll have, education information, and should you be extended an offer, you have 7 days from the time that you're offered to accept and pay your fees in full. Otherwise, you may forgo your invitation to participate.
Okay.
And now I can answer any questions that you may have about the college program.
Fantastic. I do have quite a list of questions, if that's okay.
Okay, sure. We'll try to get through as many as possible.
Great. Before I ask them, I did want to put in a request. I heard that we are able to mention which park we would prefer, if that's okay.
We can certainly put in notes, but all roles and locations are subject to availability at the time that they place people in roles.
Okay.
Which park would you like to request?
I've actually never been to Disney World, so I would love to do my program there if possible.
Awesome. So any particular park at Disney World?
I don't think so, no. I just want to be there and see all the excitement and experience new things.
Awesome. And then what's your next question?
All right, so I have a couple questions about the CP and then a couple questions about being able to further pursue a career with Disney afterward.
Sure.
Great. So my first question is, what kinds of courses can I expect to be taking during the semester?
Sorry, what type of courses?
Yes.
Okay, so the courses, they are optional at Disney World, whereas they're mandatory at Disneyland, so that's like one of the differences.
Okay.
But you can go to dorms.disney.com/learning,
Okay.
and there you'll see a full list of class details, but essentially what those classes are, really they fall into two categories. One is exploring Disney, so that's about the Disney Exploration Series, spotlight on different segments of our business, and discover Disney through like behind the scenes tours of rides and operations and things like that.
Okay.
The other course offerings that we have are the career connection pieces. So these are conversations with, where they'll do conversations with leaders from around the parks and resorts, or conversations with people who are doing professional internships, if that is something you're looking to pursue.
Okay.
And they also do networking events with leaders across property, which kind of help with the piece that you briefly mentioned about other career opportunities with Disney. So that's essentially how those classes work.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, my next question is, what would a normal CP student schedule look like in terms of classes, work shifts, studying, and downtime?
There is no normal schedule.
Okay.
So, we have thousands of students who participate, so we really don't have a typical schedule.
Okay.
As far as work, generally we try to get you as close to full-time as possible, depending on your class load.
Okay.
And they will accommodate like up to 4 hours for class, I think,
Okay.
per week.
Great.
So generally the schedule is anywhere from 32 to 40 hours a week.
All right.
And then there are times, especially during like spring break or peak, like 4th of July, things like that, there may be times where there's mandatory overtime as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes. Can you tell me more about the volunteers program and how I'd be able to get involved with that during the CP? And, for example, what kinds of projects and demographics I would be serving?
Sure. So the most common project that CPs are able to volunteer with our volunteers program is Give Kids the World Village, which is where any participants in the Make-A-Wish Foundation, they visit. When they visit Central Florida, that's where they stay while they're visiting the parks and resorts in the area. So that is the most common one. And then how you would go about accessing that information is all cast members have something called the Hub, which is like our community intranet where you're able to go in and see those volunteer shifts and sign up for them.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right, and then my next couple questions are about pursuing further work with Disney.
Sure. So to pursue other work, the biggest thing that we always recommend to potential cast members is to make sure that while you're on the program that you are doing, as good a job as possible while you're on the program. And then you're certainly able to seek full-time and part-time roles towards the end of that program. Typically, you would start contacting, casting, or applying for roles about 6 to 8 weeks prior to the end of your program to apply for full-time and part-time opportunities.
Okay.
And positions are always based on business need, so they can't make any guarantees.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then I wanted to ask, how did your Disney career begin, and specifically, how did that eventually lead to you becoming a recruiter for the internship programs?
Sure. So I started at Disney as a lifeguard at the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa on a college program, and then I returned home and graduated from college.
Okay.
And then did a professional internship with Disney University in at the time what was called the Disney University Learning Center.
Okay.
which helps with training and development and things like that for cast members.
Okay.
And cast member benefits, too. That kind of all was lumped in one area at that time.
Okay.
From there, I worked for Disney University for several years, and then actually transitioned and worked in higher education.
Okay.
So I worked in university career services centers really throughout the country, and then returned to Disney as part of the Disney internships and programs team.
Great.
So yeah, that's kind of my roundabout way that I got here.
Fantastic. All right,
Yeah.
and then
Any other questions?
Yes, this was my last question about further work with Disney, and then I have a for funsies question afterward.
Okay.
All right. So, what kinds of opportunities would I be able to pursue after the CP in terms of working at the international parks?
So working at international parks, it would depend. Most people who go internationally typically have a position somewhere in the States first. So
Okay.
most people who eventually go internationally, because they're not going, it's not even they are not going to, and since you work in HR, you probably understand this.
Uh-huh.
You can't always sponsor somebody for a role if someone local has that talent pool
Okay.
for international roles. So most of the international roles that are available, typically, if it's somebody that they are relocating from the U.S., they've had a similar role at one of the parks and resorts, either at Disneyland or Disney World.
Okay.
And then the only other international opportunities, they do have, one of our business units is Disney English, and then there's also Disney Cruise Line. So both of them do have international opportunities that they hire more from
Okay.
the States for as well.
All right. Fantastic. I will definitely look into those after the
And
semester
you can
ends.
also, even as a CP, you can also look at professional internships, and
Okay.
there are very few. I'm off the top of my head, I'm thinking of one that's
Okay.
international, but those are available as well.
Okay. Fantastic. I will definitely
Yeah.
hit those up when I get the chance.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, my last question for funsies is, who was the first Disney character that you fell in love with, and has this changed over the years?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The first one that I fell in love with, I would say my first hardcore character obsession was probably Ariel,
Okay.
because I was I'm telling my age now, but I was 5 when that movie came out,
Mhm.
and I was obsessed. I had Ariel everything, and my parents were very accommodating with having a little boy who
I love it.
wanted all of this Ariel stuff. So that would be my first. And I still love Ariel, although I will say that watching The Little Mermaid now, there's some plot holes. She kind of got really into Eric really quickly,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, can you blame her though? She's 16.
yeah, so I would say probably one of my other favorite movies, I guess now it's technically a movie franchise, is Finding Nemo. I think it's great. So I would say that would be one that I'm a fan of. Yeah, what about you?
I would say growing up, I didn't really have a Disney crush, but by the time Tangled came out, I think it's pretty hard to not fall in love with Flynn Rider.
No, that's true. Very, very dapper man. So,
He's
yep.
super handsome, and the way he looks at Rapunzel, I'm pretty sure everyone wants someone to look at them like that.
That's true. And then the whole lantern scene.
Oh my god, don't get me started. I'm gonna get emo.
I think that may be one of the best, rivaling, the Beauty and the Beast dancing scene,
Probably.
Of a very romantic Disney scene. So,
Yeah. It depends. I
Yeah.
think it depends on whether the individual person thinks that dancing is more romantic or if lanterns are more romantic.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
I think the lighting was nice.
I think so too. Dancing kind of makes me nervous. I mean, I am a dancer, but dancing with someone makes me nervous.
That would make me nervous too, because then you're like, am I looking nice still during this? Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
They basically just had to be on a boat, right? So,
Mhm.
but then you have to worry about
Yeah.
lots to think about in those scenarios.
Yeah.
Any other questions you have?
I don't think so. I think you've answered pretty much everything. Thank you so much.
Well, awesome. Well, if you don't have any other questions, Lauren, it's been so so good speaking with you tonight. I hope you have a magical rest of your evening, okay?
Likewise, Bradley. Thank you so much.
Have a good day. Goodbye.
You too. Goodbye. That just happened. I am scared to watch this back, but I think I did pretty okay. Crossing my fingers. Thanks for bearing with me on this journey.